Hello, I'm Pastor Gerald Stallworth, and thanks for listening to the Seven Community Bible Church Family Matters Podcast Ministry. This evening, we have two families that are dealing with health challenges or have dealt with health challenges with their children. And we want them to share their testimony on some of the things they've had to go through, and hopefully, it will be a blessing and benefit to others. We're going to have a word of prayer. Father, we thank you now. We thank you now for these families. We pray right now you continue to give them the strength that they need, the wisdom and the support they need as they deal with and have dealt with the challenges they face in life with their children or for their child. It's in Jesus' name we do pray. Amen. Now, first of all, we already know that parenting is not a easy thing, not if you're going to do it right. Uh, so not only do we not get an instruction book on everything to do with children that are, as we said, normal, but what are we going to do when we have some challenges that go on above normal? I know both of these families are the guests today, and I will let them introduce themselves. So go ahead with it.
Hi, my name is Jeremy Tompkins, and this is my wife, Jessica. We have two girls, and the primary person that we'll be discussing today will be Joy. And she has Down syndrome, but she's just as normal as normal.
Jessica, I believe your mic is off.
Hey, I'm Jessica, mother of three. We're going to discuss my oldest son that he passed away 8 years ago. He suffered a brain injury and he was 6 years old.
Now, in my little research, trying to come up with some things, I have on this presentation some things that are out there that parents face. One is the parents have to be strong because, again, they can get worn out mentally, physically, and in other ways. They have to learn a new way of communicating with their child or children. They need to know about various support groups, and they need to do just as these two families are doing here today to be an advocate for their child, for their health with the medical professions and with the educational system. What does their child need for them to continue to grow in spite of the challenges that they face? So, Jessica, if you don't mind, would you share with us a little? And again, we're not trying to broadcast your personal business, but what you're willing to share about your son, Edward.
Well, Edward was actually born healthy. He was diagnosed with meningitis at 2 months, and from there, it started him to having issues with seizures. So, excuse me, y'all. So at 2 months when he had the meningitis, he started with the seizures, and it was like a domino effect from there. He ended up with hydrocephalus from the meningitis. He had to have a shunt. Then after that, he healed, and the only effects that we've seen, he had a little bit of cerebral palsy and a couple of delays, but he was able to overcome everything. He walked, he talked. He was good. I mean, he had some struggles, but he didn't have any huge health issues until he was 6 years old. He had like a growth spurt, and his meds no longer were therapeutic. He had a breakthrough seizure, which was a grand mal. So he ended up coding. It took him 20 minutes to get him back, and when they got him back, he had the brain damage. And from there, he was like in a semi-vegetative state. So he was in a wheelchair, 2 feet in, and pretty much he was that way for until he was 16 years old. So it was 10 years we cared for him.
Tompkins?
For us, our daughter Joy has Down syndrome. We received the diagnosis of her condition 13 weeks into my pregnancy. I hadn't had a lot of experience with Down syndrome. Jeremy actually has an uncle that has Down syndrome, so we've of course, been around his uncle. He grew up with his uncle, so he was very familiar with Down syndrome and its effects. With Joy, it was a completely different world for me altogether, especially with her being our child. Throughout my pregnancy, for the most part, things were normal. Initially, once we received her diagnosis, we were referred to a high risk unit basically at UAB, and they did a lot of testing on me and checking her during ultrasounds and things like that. They noticed that there were some things that looked like calcified spots on her heart. I believe her kidney as well. And so they weren't really sure how those things would develop as she grew before she was born. But as we got closer and as she grew, the issues with her heart kind of cleared up. She does still have a small heart murmur. The spot that was on her kidney cleared up. And I just remembered while I was still pregnant, the doctor that was doing the test, he said, well, I do believe that she does have Down syndrome, but it's a mild case. And so after that, everything else with her medically was normal outside of the diagnosis.
Right. How much more of a challenge has this, well, let's go back. What changed, or did your faith change, or was there any anger or resentment toward God when I know the child that you prayed for, Tompkins, and you wanted, and now it was a greater challenge than you expected?
For me, it wasn't. I mean, for me, I didn't have any ill thing towards God, because with me growing up with an uncle that has Down syndrome, I was prepared for it. So I guess me growing up for it actually prepared me for what we're going through right now with Joy. But at the same time, I wasn't. It's just okay. This is another child that we're going to have, and we're going to love her as like we love our other child. So everything is going to be great. There will be challenges. There will be challenges, but God is God and God is good. So I had no.
He was way more calm and optimistic than I was. I got the call from my doctor at work. It was a Monday morning. I'll never forget. And I'm just thinking, number one, it's weird that my doctor is calling me and she's actually on the line. It's not a nurse or someone else passing a message. But for me, yes, we suffered a miscarriage probably about a year before.
A year and a half.
About a year and a half before. And it was a very early miscarriage. But for me, I thought I had gotten to a point where, okay, we have one child, she's healthy, she's doing well. And I thought I would be content. But having that miscarriage, for those few days while we were waiting for tests to be confirmed that I was miscarrying or not, I just had these visions of, oh, we'll have 2 kids and the kids will like have each other to play with, and oh, what room are we going to use for the baby and all that kind of stuff. So having that miscarriage, it kind of opened up something that I thought I had resolved, like one child is fine, we're good. But that kind of made me desire another child. So that loss was devastating. And so to then wait a year and a half to finally be on the same page, because that was one of the things I prayed for. I'm like, God, if we have another child, I do want it to be something that we both want, and not just be my own desire. So to get there and to then receive the diagnosis of, oh, well, the tests do seem to indicate that there's a very high probability that the child has Down syndrome. It was devastating for me for a very long time.
Now, here you have the doctors giving you some type of warning or advance notice. Hey, look, this is what you should be expecting when the child is actually born. But now for Jessica, you're in a situation where your child is born healthy, and for what, 2 or 3 months, just a normal baby. So how did that emotionally shift you to any resentment or bitterness toward God or your faith and your walk with God?
It didn't. I was very numb then, and my faith wasn't what it is now. The best way I can describe it, I just was numb. I never was angry with God. I did try to see. I just tried to find my place in it all and just support my baby, and I was just going with the flow. I was just numb. That's all I can say, because I was having other issues as well. So it was just really difficult.
Now, one thing, again, I know both of these families pretty well. I think I may have been knowing Jessica, not trying to give away her age, but probably I know since she was in high school, may have been even middle school, because she was attending the church with us. So we go a long way back. This young lady is in the medical field, and she's very good in the medical field. And when she would come to church, when Edward was basically, her son was wheelchair bound, she was not walking around looking for a handout. When she pulled up there to the church, she was getting that young man out of the car, putting him in the wheelchair. You would almost have to make her, no, let us help you. And one of the little things I said earlier, you have to be strong. She was strong. And I look at Jessica or Monique and Jeremy, you guys got to be strong with what you all do, because a lot of people couldn't handle it. A lot of people would have had a bailout plan. A lot of people, and I've had grown people to share with me that when their spouse was sick, how they basically had this other spouse to tell them, look, I'm tired of all this medical stuff. Now, I'm not saying they got a divorce because of that, but they got up out of there. And eventually they did get a divorce because they couldn't handle the extra challenges that went along with their own spouse. But you guys are the real deal. You're not faking it till you make it. You're not blaming each other. You're not even blaming God. As Jessica said, just went with the flow. Now, within your own family, and I know, as Jessica shared, Jessica Edwards, how that she has 2 other children. And I know from my own personal experience, she could be doing something else, and her other children were going to be in there. Edward could make a noise or whatever type community. They knew it, and they knew how to respond to what she needs. So how did that work for you, Jessica, with your other 2 children assisting you?
They were very supportive. I mean, there wasn't too many kids that knew how to do tube feedings, but my kids could. So they were my support person, because during that time I did go through a divorce too. So we're all that each other had. So we supported, however we could.
And their age, for you, if you all didn't hear, she said tube feeding Edward, who lived up until he was age 16. And how old was Jada and your son, Jada and your son, when they were learned how to tube feed their own brother?
I mean, there had to be Jada had to be around 10 years old. I mean, 10, 11 years old. I mean, they were tube feeding him at an early age, because, like I said, they were my support person. Even in the later years, Jada used to put Edward on the bus for me in the morning time, because I had to be at work before the bus came. So we made it do. We made it work.
I saw it. I mean, I wasn't there, but I saw it, and they were there. Now, what about you all, Tompkins? What support do you have with Joanna Lynn Tompkins, the oldest child, for Joanna?
Joanna's been an amazing big sister. She is loving on Joy. She's been helping with Joy, especially when we was trying to get her to walk. She's been right there, just edging her and pushing her, encouraging her to just move along and just, she loves her. She plays with her. It's nothing that Joanna would not do for Joy. She absolutely loves being a big sister.
Mhm.
And how old again is this young lady, Joanna?
She's 8.
Going on 40.
Yeah.
She's 8
She
going on
thinks
40.
she's like, yeah, she thinks she's an adult, but
Yeah.
All right.
she's just
Now-
turned 8. So
Now we can see Edward being in a wheelchair and basically seeing, hey, something's not normal here. But can Joanna see anything that you all are aware of that would, or does she look at Joy as in, oh, she's different, she's not normal, oh,
Not really.
no.
I think when I was pregnant, maybe further along into my pregnancy, we tried to just have conversations here and there, or at least I did. And I would say, you know, when sister gets here, she may look a little different, or it may take her longer periods of time to do certain things like walk or crawl or do different things or whatever. But she's going to be healthy and we're going to take care of her and support her. So maybe that kind of helped her in her mind say, okay, I know when my sister gets here, I just got to help where I can and do whatever. Because she doesn't think anything different of Joy at all.
other than your family, your immediate family in your house, what support groups have you all used, or have you used any, or did you need a support group?
I'm in therapy. I've been in therapy for about 5 years anyway. So I think having someone already that I'm used to and already talking to kind of helped, because as soon as I got the diagnosis during my pregnancy, I was able to go ahead and reach out to my counselor, and she's kind of been with me throughout this whole time. Once we had Joy in the hospital, I was visited by so many different people, and it's all such a blur to me at this point. At some point, people from Down Syndrome Alabama reached out to me and got me connected with their organization, which has helped me get connected with an even smaller group of moms that have kids with Down syndrome that are birthed through age 5. So I got plugged in right away to that group. I had a friend that knew someone who had a daughter that had Down syndrome as well, that's in college and doing amazing. She sent her my phone number and we ended up talking. So it seemed like I was kind of being plugged in along the way in each step. So it made it a lot easier for me once I got past the initial shock.
And Jessica, for you, or you can go ahead if you want to add anything to
I
that.
was gonna see if I mean,
I'm
he's
sorry.
been plugged into things that I do with Down Syndrome Alabama, and just meeting families that way.
Yep.
And Jessica Edwards, what about you? Any support groups, or did, because this is a smart young lady here, or did you, like to say, you just went with the flow, you did what you needed to do?
I mean, in Selma, there wasn't many resources. there wasn't anything. For the most part, when Edward had to have a lot of his therapies or anything, we had to go to Birmingham. So there wasn't. We was at a disadvantage. So we basically did the best we could with them.
And that's good information. But again, she made it happen. She could again throw it in the towel and say, well, I can't be doing all that. But again, whatever she needed to do for her son, that's what she did. And never forget, it was, we made a trip to the church up in Birmingham to visit. And Jessica was there. And here again, had all the excuses in the world not to go. Well, I can't be And for those who don't know, we're at least 90 miles or an hour and a half drive from Birmingham. And Jessica could have been one. So, no, I'm not driving all the way. I'm tired. She packed her SUV with Edward and her other 2 children. I think they got to the church before we did. And one of the things that reminded me when, we enjoyed the service, and then Jessica said, "Oh, Edward enjoyed the service too." I'm like, how could Edward enjoy? Did he even have a clue? She knew how to communicate. She knew when her son, who was wheelchair bound, yet and still, she knew whatever voice he was, tone he was making, or whatever sound that was coming from him, she knew whether it was a good sound or a bad sound, a happy sound, or whatever. She knew that, and that's still in my head today, how this lady knew her son that well. And she had him dressed sharp as a tack. He's the only person who could roll up in the church with a DAP hat on, turn it to the side, and look at it, sharp as a tack. She took care of that young man. Jessica, tell us a little about the education that hopefully this city had for Edward, the school system. Or did it just stop at a certain age?
Well, he was in a special needs class with kids that was like him, and he had an IEP. We went through that process and all. But at that point,
back a minute, give us that medical term. I know it's easy for you to say, but you're the medical professional here. What is that IEP?
It was just an educational plan, but to me, it was just something that was on paper because there wasn't a lot that was backing it up. I didn't see a lot of progression and things of that sort. It was just he had an IEP. But to me, it was a lot of just babysitting. And I'm not going to talk about his teachers because they were pretty awesome because they did go beyond. They did a lot. The school system as well. I think they did what they could with the resources they had. One of the biggest things they did to help me was Jada was they allowed Jada and Edward to stay together. So Edward was supposed to go to high school, so they kept Edward back so he can stay with her until she progressed to high school just so they could stay together. So they did what they could with the resources they had. But as far as him getting like therapy and things of that sort at school, he didn't get any of that. It's almost like at a certain point they gave up on him because like with this wasn't the school system with insurance. If when they evaluate you, if you're not showing progression, the insurance is not going to continue to pay for some of these services. So where he was getting a speech, where somebody was trying to work with him on trying to speak and like with PT and things of that sort, he wasn't responding. So they kind of cut him off with that. So like I said, we just had to just deal with what we had and do what I could for him.
All right, Tompkins, what type of educational or assistance is there for George?
We haven't quite gotten there yet, but we have again been connected with an organization here, United Ability. They're also a daycare as well, but they offer outpatient therapy services through Hand in Hand. So Joy gets physical therapy, occupational therapy, speech, and special education. And what has been great for us is that the therapists come to her daycare. So she's not in a specialized daycare for kids with special needs. She's just in a regular daycare. And her therapists come to daycare to see her. But it's interesting that Jessica was talking about how you have the IEP, individualized educational plan, Daddy, and how she felt like they weren't doing anything. We actually just went through that within the last 2 weeks or so. Since Joy's therapist come to daycare, neither of us are really there. We can be there because daycare is at my job, so we can pop in whenever we want to. But for the sake of PTO and having to take off work, sometimes it gets hard to take off that much. But one of Joy's daycare teacher kind of stopped me one day and she said, I want to talk to you about something. I'm like, okay, yes, ma'am. And she said, I don't think her speech therapist and her special education therapist are really doing a lot with her. And I asked her, I said, well, what do you mean? She said, when they come, they're more so communicating with us, with the teachers, and Joy's on the other side of the classroom doing whatever she wants to do or playing with kids or whatever. So they're not really working with her. And for me, I was kind of taken aback because I'm not really a confrontational person. So I'm like, do I reach out to the therapist? Like, who do I talk to? And so I actually, of course, talked to Jeremy. Yeah.
I was like, no, we need to go ahead and try to swap counselors because I'm not going to be having somebody just come in there because we're trying to get Joy developed as best as we possibly can.
Right.
And if somebody who's supposed to be a developer is not a developer, I don't have that relationship.
Right. He takes the emotion out. He takes the emotion all the way out. He's like, child, I don't care. And I'm like, no, but they're so nice and they've been so friendly. And he said something that will probably stick with me for the rest of my life. He said, this is where we start being an advocate for Joy. This is where we start standing up for her and fighting for what she needs. And thank God, the coordinator at United Ability contacted me the next day, just randomly, or maybe even, was it the next day? The next day. And she just said, hey, just wanted to see how services were going. And I was like, oh my goodness, can I please call you? I'm like, this is perfect timing. I wasn't sure what to do, but here's what we were presented by daycare workers. And I don't know what the next steps are. And she said, okay, well, do you want to change therapists? And I had to put on my Jeremy hat. I was like, Jeremy would say yes, so let's just do it. And I said, I don't want anybody upset. And she said, no, it'll be fine. So that kind of opened my eyes to, okay, we only get services for Joy for 3 years, both with the state of Alabama, and we do an optional outpatient therapy service with the Bell Center here, which we love. But even they age out at 3. And so he was like, we don't have time to play. Like, we gotta, if somebody's not doing something, or if we don't feel like they're on their game, we gotta change therapists. So we just made that change last week.
That pretty much covers one of the questions I have. Hopefully both families can respond to this. Are you all overprotective or just protective?
Over. I was a mama bear would bite you about my child.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
That's what Justy is.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
I will be overprotective when the time comes, like for instance with this particular experience or whatnot. But if something like really, really goes sideways, then yes, I'm for sure going to be overprotective.
I think it's just made me more sensitive to certain things people say, and like I try to shield Joy from that as best I can. So if somebody goes out of their way to say, oh, well, because of her disability, this and this might happen, or, well, you know, she's disabled, so she may not, like, her walking is, and I mean, and this isn't even coming from medical professionals. This is just people that will talk just randomly wherever. And so it kind of makes me turn my ears up to them a little bit, like, okay, so I definitely feel a little bit more overprotective of Joy than maybe he does. He's like, I'll do it in the right situation, whereas I'll do it in any situation. Like if somebody looks at her for too long, I'm like, yes, can I help you? What's going on? Like anything you need?
Really have to. You have to protect her from their ignorance, like seriously.
Yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Well, you know, even as I was trying to come up with, okay, now what am I going to title this podcast? I didn't want children who have this, that, and the other, because that could be sensitive. I could say the wrong word, put the wrong word or the wrong title, So that's why it's labeled, basically parenting children with challenges or health challenges. Um, I think that's a little because again, you don't want to go around and label them as uh, you're already fighting the battle. You don't want people labeling you throughout life as being, oh, you disabled, and they're doing better than you are. They're sharper than you. So we got a few minutes here, and I'll let you all just share this. Today, now, if for those somebody may have missed this from the beginning, uh, Jessica Edwards lost her son about 8 years ago. And she just told us before, she said, Edward loved Superman. So when we did the funeral, I talked to the guys at the church. It couldn't make anybody do anything. I said, hey guys, instead of coming down here with a suit on for Edward's funeral, see if you can find you a Superman shirt. And everybody that wanted to participate, they went out and bought him a Superman shirt. Jessica made some pens, and believe it or not, some ink pens. I still have that ink pen with Superman on it. And she was surprised at the way we did things at the church, just for the strength and support that she had and the love that she had for her son. What type things that are you all involved? I know Jessica and Jeremy are involved in various events to support. Tell us a little about that, and tell us what you are willing to do to help anybody else. Both of you all can basically conclude the podcast with just saying anything that I didn't go over that you want to say at the end of this podcast. So any support groups that you're in to support others, what is it? I know Joy, which she's my granddaughter, she was in a, modeling contest or whatever you call it?
Fashion show.
Well, same thing.
Yeah, it wasn't a contest though.
Well, hey, I'm doing the best I can.
Yeah, she was in a tailgate, like football family and fun fashion show through Down Syndrome of Alabama.
Yep, and that's where I walked her down, and she was the highlight of the show. Everybody was talking about, oh, she's so beautiful, she was so great, but she walked down, and it took us a while, but nonetheless, we made it through, and it was great. It was a great experience, and it was.
And what team was she modeling for, might I ask?
Alabama. But to be
far.
fair, we have gear for both teams, for both of them, but Joanna has decided she's going to that side. So.
She's smart, so she knows which side to go to.
But we've done most of what we've been involved with lately is through Down Syndrome of Alabama. I connected with the doctor, and she has been very resourceful and very encouraging throughout the entire time that we've been a part of the organization. So really anything that they do, if we're free that weekend, we'll do it. Like there may be a play date. Again, I'm more so connected with the group that's for families with kids birth through age 5. So that way we're making friends with kids that are around Joy's age. We're all kind of going through this process and different steps together at the same time, which has been really helpful and like very inspirational for me as well.
And it's good just to see the men, the dads that are out there supporting their kids as well, because obviously Jessica has built a relationship with the mom and the leadership of it, but just communicating with the dads, because everybody knows the dads have to be involved in order for all of this to work, just to lead them, to grow them, and just to be there for them. We have to be involved with that.
And Jessica, I know that you've been so busy. It's hard for me to keep up with this young lady because one week she's a head nurse at some place, and then I call her about 3 weeks later. Oh, I'm not doing that, Pastor Starworth. I'm over it. I said, girl, look, this is just too much. I can't keep up with you. But when she set her mind to doing something, She's going to do that. Hard worker, dedicated to her family. So if you all would just give us some closing remarks, anything that I didn't ask or mention that you wanted to say that I didn't address, feel free to do so at this time as we come to the end of this podcast.
I'll start. I'll say that one thing that helped me at the beginning of receiving Joy's diagnosis, and I got the diagnosis, left work, head hurting, migraine forming, like all kinds of things and thoughts and worries going through my mind. I feel like sometimes people want to try to make you be okay. Like, hey, well, no, it's going to be fine. Don't worry about it. It's like, it's going to be your child and you're going to love them. But you have to get to that point. I had to get to that point. Not that I immediately felt like, oh, I don't want this. I regret this. I didn't know how to process all of the information. And of course, you being my father, you were one of the first people, if not the first and only person, that told me it's okay if you're upset. It's okay if you need to sit with your feelings and be frustrated for a minute, because I wasn't ready to just brush it off and say, oh, okay, well, I guess it'll be fine. It'll be all right. But for me, what got me through to the other side was knowing that I could process my feelings in those moments, because again, it lasted for a little while. But it drew me closer to God, because at that point I had to say, okay, I believe that God can do anything. That I never questioned that at all. And I knew that if God wanted to, he could have changed Joy's diagnosis before she got here. And this would have been a different podcast. But I do remember before she was born, I started praying. I said, God, if it's not going to change, then change me. If we're going to have a child with Down syndrome, then you have to change me, make me stronger, change my outlook, take my anxiety away, everything. And that's when things started to get better, because for a while it started to feel like, were we really supposed to have another child? Should we have just stuck with one? Like, what were we thinking? What's going on? And I tell people after I said that prayer, and that was a constant prayer, because I would walk in the mornings and like pray and worship, and I would say, God, you have to change me. I'm scared. God, you have to change me. And when she was born, I remember when she was born, I remember looking at her and knowing, okay, she has Down syndrome. I can see she has Down syndrome. But holding her and getting to grow and love her and get to know her, nobody could tell me anything about Joy at this point. And like, not even him. And when in the busyness, in the chaos of routines and schedules changing, and oh, we got to go to therapy, and oh, we have this appointment, oh, we got to do this test, and we have to follow up with this doctor, I have moments where I look back and I say, I know for sure God changed me. And that will forever be my testimony when it comes to Joy, because he changed everything about my outlook, about how I felt about it, the confidence I had in myself, because I didn't think we were strong enough to walk through this together. We had just gone through our own difficult times. And I was like, now is not the time to deal with this when we're trying to heal from other stuff we've been dealing with. But that would be closing remarks for me, I guess, is that when you're going through something, it's okay in that moment. And you have to find your people that aren't going to judge you or say, no, you got to hurry up and feel better. Like, it's been 2 hours. You're not over that yet. You need to get over that quickly, and just have that moment. But then turn to God or seek God, like allow him to change you, because it could be you that needs, I know it was me that needed to be changed. My situation didn't change, but once God changed me and my heart, I was like, I cannot imagine life without Joy at this point.
For me, I guess it's more it was more if cheating for me because I grew up with it. And so I was prepared for it. I guess God led me to this moment with her because I've gone through it because he's my uncle. But when you're growing up with him, he's like my brother. So it's like we did everything. And I know the things that he can do and I know the things that he could not do. So it was just me pouring into her. It's like, yes, she does have Down syndrome. I know you're scared. This is not what you wanted to begin with. But at the same time, once she does come, things are going to change. And things has changed for her. And it's changed for me as well because she has spoiled her nonetheless. And I keep telling Joy, it's like, your mom can't save you. Nobody can save you. Here she
If
comes
he's
running around.
fussing at her about anything, she'll make a noise or a sound and she's
Like,
looking
Mom!
at me and he's like, she can't save you. And I'm like, oh, I will always save her. Like, no one will ever be able to stop me from helping her or saving her.
So it's a journey, but
Yes.
it's all well worth it.
Yes.
All right. Miss Jessica.
Yes. I can relate to what she's saying. I think, first of all, I am blessed to have chosen for his mom.
Right.
The love you get from a special needs child is so different, and I was really blessed to be his mom. My relationship with God, I had said that my faith wasn't as it is right now. Back then, I felt like, well, looking back, I was being refined. Where I was a spoiled child that wanted my mama. During that time, my mom, she had passed. In a bad marriage, I really didn't have the support I wanted to be able to run to somebody and say, help me. Will you do this? Will you do that? It didn't happen. I didn't have that. With that being said, I was being refined through all that pressure. And without him, I won't be the person I am now. So there were some blessings in it. I think he lived a good life because early on he wasn't supposed to make it, but God did give him those 6 years where he was healthy, he played, he was very active. So I was fortunate for that. So that's it. I don't regret anything. I'm glad he was mine.
Two strong families dealing with challenges and keeping it real. Not what they wanted, but she was refined. Jessica was being refined. Jessica Tompkins was being changed. And those are some powerful statements right there. Powerful statements. Hey, thank you all for participating in this. And I hope again that somebody will listen to this and it will be a blessing and encourage them that if God did it, not if, but since God did it for you all, he's more than able to do it for somebody else. Thanks again and be blessed.